Hello, this is Dr. Paul Cottrell, and I'm recording this on October 19th. We're going to go over mini videos, especially about the election in New York that's coming up for the mayoral race, but also international news and domestic news. There was a rally, the No Kings rally was yesterday, but we'll talk about that. But please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com, and help support the work that I do by donating. You can donate through Stripe, PayPal, or buy me a coffee. You can also be a paid member to my Patreon channel or my Substack channel. I have TikTok. You can follow me on X and GETTR. You can also follow me on 5 channels on YouTube, Brighteon, Bitchute, and Rumble. Please subscribe to all the channels so you can get the feeds that I send out. All these videos that I do are for free to give you a perspective of the news and of the financial markets. In addition, I tell you how to improve your health and boost up your immune system, especially for the fall and winter season. So please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com, and help support the work that I do by getting the great products that I offer. I have ebooks, I have supplements, and I have course material in immunology and pulmonology. So please share the links, ask your social media to follow me. I greatly appreciate it. Before we start, please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com, and get the great Veggie Cap probiotic. This probiotic and the powder probiotic that I have will help to improve your gut biome, improve your absorption of your food, improve your cellular metabolism. Also, it will improve your immune system, your brain function. It'll improve your sleep. And by getting proper sleep, you're going to be able to consolidate memory, detoxify your central nervous system, and be well rested. So you get many benefits from taking a good probiotic. You'll also have better skin health. So please go to my store, get the Veggie Cap version or the powdered version. Take it every day, drink it with filtered water, and improve your gut biome. Please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com. The link is in the description of this video and all my videos. All right, we're going to go over Fox News interviewing Andrew Cuomo.
Andrew Cuomo on the high-stakes New York City mayor's race. Will a socialist take over America's largest city? Well, let's take a look at the polls. Here's our latest Fox News poll. It shows this: Mamdani, the Democratic Socialist, at 52%, Cuomo 28%, and Sliwa at 14%. Adams at 2%, but we know Adams has dropped out of the race. But look at this. Compare these two Quinnipiac polls, one in September, one just this week. Well, the latest has Mamdani at 46%. In September, that was 45%. But look at this. As you can see, Governor Cuomo has made a 10-point gain in the race since the dropout of Eric Adams. And on Thursday, the nation watched a high-stakes New York mayor's debate where the Democratic Socialists displayed a number of contradictory positions. On defunding the police, Zoran Mamdani said this:
I am looking to work with police officers, not to defund the NYPD.
Now that's a rather curious position.
Deliver unparalleled IT efficiency, security, and support with NIC1's unified IT management platform.
Now that's a rather curious position, considering that Mamdani tweeted this in 2020. In June, he tweeted that the NYPD was a racist, anti-queer, and a major threat to public safety. And in December of 2020, he says there's no negotiating with an institution this wicked, corrupt, defund it, he said, dismantle it, end the cycle of violence. And then there was the crucial question of whether Hamas, a terrorist organization, should disarm. Mamdani said this to Martha McCallum on Wednesday.
Do you believe that Hamas should lay down their weapons and leave the leadership in Gaza?
I believe that any future here in New York City is one that we have to make sure that's affordable for all. And as it pertains to Israel and Palestine, that we have to ensure that there's peace. And that is the future that we have to fight for.
But you won't say that Hamas should lay down their arms and give up leadership in Gaza.
I don't really have opinions about the future of Hamas.
No opinions on the terrorists. And then just over 24 hours later, he said this.
Of course, I believe that they should lay down their arms.
Now that's quite a turnaround in a day's time. But think about this equivocation. You just heard the leading candidate to be mayor of New York City refused to say that a terrorist group that strangled 9-month-old Kafir Bibis should put down their arms. That answer should be simple, but for Zoran Mamdani, it was not. And Governor Cuomo repeatedly pressed his opponent on his abrupt epiphany and his history of anti-Israel sentiments.
Why wouldn't he condemn Hamas? Why wouldn't he condemn Hassan Piker? Why did it take us here tonight for the first time for him to say it? He still won't denounce globalize the intifada, which means kill all Jews. Just say, I denounce it. He won't do it.
I'm joined now by Andrew Cuomo, former New York governor and candidate for New York City mayor. Governor Cuomo, thank you for joining us. Great to have you here today. I'm curious what you made on that debate stage of your opponent's really abrupt turnaround from saying, Hamas should keep their weapons by not answering the question to all of a sudden saying they should in fact disarm. Hamas, of course, killed infants.
Thank you. Thank you, Kaylee, for having me. It's called getting caught. That's what it's called. Look, he is a democratic socialist. And forget the word democratic. He's a socialist. And it's much different than the Democratic Party. And that's why it's so confusing in this election. And this Democratic Socialist Party has really radical extreme views. They believe in a socialist economy of Venezuela, Cuba. They're anti-police, defund the police, abolish jails, do away with misdemeanors. They are really radical and extreme, and that's his base. So he doesn't want to offend the base because they're radical and they're highly disciplined and they won't tolerate any deviation. On the other hand, it's totally out of step with New Yorkers and mainstream New Yorkers. So he's been trying to have it both ways. What happened on the debate stage, and hopefully the press actually starts to follow up and do their job, but you can't reconcile the two positions. And when he gets called on it, that's when he gets caught.
So you note that he's not a democratic socialist and he's a full-on socialist. He claims, no, I'm a democratic socialist, there's a difference. But I woke up this morning to a clip of Mamdani, and here's his views on private property. Watch this.
My platform is to decommodify. My platform is that every single person should have housing. If there was any system that could guarantee each person housing, whether you call it the abolition of private property or you call it, just a statewide housing guarantee, it is preferable to what is going on right now.
No, it's
We
not.
just heard him talk about
No, it's
the abolition
not.
of private property.
No, it's not, because he obviously doesn't understand the Constitution. Through the Bill of Rights in our constitutional republic, our founders understood that there were individuals that had property and individuals that didn't have property, and that they wanted to make sure that under a constitutional republic that property rights were protected. And what he wants to do is unravel what our founding fathers of the Constitution enshrined and gave to us generation after generation after generation. What Mamdani just said in 2020 about taking control, state control of property to make sure everyone's housed is going against what our founding fathers enshrined in the Constitution about property rights. And this is the reason why the United States is not a democracy. Because through a democracy, you have mob rule. And this was warned by Plato in the Republic, that you have democracy in its purest form, you will eventually get tyranny. So obviously Mamdani doesn't understand the Constitution, the founding fathers' intent of the Constitution and the Bill of Rights, and the protecting of property. And Mamdani doesn't seem to know much about the warnings of Plato in the Republic. So he doesn't know philosophy, he doesn't know economics, and he doesn't know the Constitution. And unfortunately, we have a lot of bleeding heart fucking liberals in New York that are going to vote this guy in. Now, unfortunately, Cuomo is the other candidate. And he's a flawed candidate. But I'm going to have to vote for Cuomo to try to prevent Mamdani from getting in. And people need to pay attention. There is a Marxist takeover of our system of government at the local level. And if you get enough of these, you're going to have problems. You're going to have problems. And people need to start pushing back on this ultra-liberal agenda. But Cuomo is a failed candidate, is a flawed candidate. Cuomo is a flawed candidate because of the corruption. This guy's a mobster. He's a mobster.
It's not, but they don't understand it. And if you read this, the DSA charter, which is all written down, Kaylee, this is not interpretation. This Democratic Socialists of America, they're a very organized group nationwide.
He's
They
right
have
about
a
that.
lot of money from a lot of sources.
They are very organized, but this ultra-liberal group is very intolerant. And so if a candidate sways away from their stated platform, they get demonized. So there's there's very little room for negotiation within that party platform. And that's the Achilles heel. They're intolerant. And if you start paying attention to like Marxism, tell me what country has done well with Marxism? None. There's 0 countries out there that have prospered under Marxism. So what's going to happen is there's a high probability that Mamdani is going to get in, and then there's going to be a big question about property rights. Now, do we want to have a society where your property is taken away? If your property is taken away, then well, what's the reason of even working? There's no reason. This is the reason why most countries, socialistic countries, when you start having the state control production and property, what's the point of striving? So the society eventually starts to fall. So this is a big problem, but this problem came to fruition because of the ultra-liberalism that's being taught in schools. And the young don't know any better because they didn't read the Federalist Papers. They don't know why the Constitution is written the way it is. They don't really fully, truly understand that no country on the face of the planet has been prosperous under Marxism. It's always gone towards tyranny. And Plato, through the Republic, warned people about this. That what will happen is that the haves and the have-nots, the plebs and the aristocracy will start fighting each other. There'll be an overthrow, and eventually that mob rule, that with democracy without having property rights, will lead to tyranny. Because they want what the haves have. The have-nots want to take, property rights are taken away, and eventually there is the less incentive for production. The society starts to falter economically, and eventually a strong man comes up, and tyranny ensues. That's what Plato warned us about, and that is exactly what has happened every time a country tries Marxism. Socialism doesn't work. Capitalism is the best way for a society to move forward. Is it perfect? No, but it is by far more effective for the society to move forward and to be prosperous than socialism or communism. So when the intelligentsia, they think that they know, so much, and they really gravitate to Marxism and all this. Marxism doesn't work. It doesn't work. And Plato was warning also about this very issue, about how the society wants, the workers will want the gains of the upper class. Instead of striving to be in the upper class, striving to build businesses and to plug in, they want to take. Nietzsche was also warning people about this, between the slavery morality and between the master morality. And the slavery morality is everyone that's not in the upper part of society, that's in the governments of the governing part of society, or even in the the production part of the society, the ones that own the businesses, the capitalists in this case, and the slave morality are the ones that have to work. But the thing is that that's part of that slave morality is that they want something. They want something for nothing. There's also an aspect to them where they're weaker because they couldn't strive to be at the top of the society, and it's tied into religion. The slave morality is tied into religion and how it weakens people. So Nietzsche commented about a lot of this, but we've been warned by philosophers like Plato, beware of this. We've been warned by Nietzsche, beware of this. We've been warned by capitalist economists to beware of this situation. But somehow, some way, the intelligentsia have produced a lot of kids that think that Marxism is the best way to go. And what society has been. How do you prevent, if you have a government that's starting to own the property, how do you prevent tyranny? How do you prevent that? How do you prevent the government being tyrannical? And not just that, it's going against what our founding fathers wanted through property rights. That he's trying to abrogate that. It's crazy.
Many questions about whether they have Middle East money coming into them. And you read their platform that they sign. He donates part of his income to the Democratic Socialists of America.
See?
And their platforms.
See? So if you get in, you got to donate your money. See? To build that platform. You see the corruption and the hostage taking that's taking place within that platform. The Democratic Socialist platform. Don't you think that if they were in control of larger parts of society, that they would be doing this too? And it leads to corruption. This is the reason why Marxism never works. And a microcosm is exactly what Cuomo just said. You get in, you gotta pay. You gotta pay the party bosses. It's the same thing with the unions. The unions work the same way. You can't work here unless you're part of the union, but you got to pay your dues, and then the union bosses are living high on the hog. Don't fall for it. Don't fall for it. Property rights and capitalism is far better than socialism.
Clear. Government should control the means of production. there should be no private ownership of real estate. So the American dream of home ownership, that's gone, right? They are purely doctrinaire socialism, plus this anti-police, anti-public safety, anti-criminal justice, no jails, no prison, deconstruct the carceral state, whatever that means. They are rigid in their beliefs, it's codified, and that's who he is. And he's glib and he's facile, and he gives you that little smile and that little grin to seem sincere and genuine, but he's lying to the people of New York. And the closing days of the campaign, you just have to say, is it A or B, right? Fish or fowl, apples or oranges, because what he says to the large audience is totally different than everything he has said for years. Tweets, videos, his words. It's not an interpretation. It's just listen to what the man says.
Yeah, it's socialism with a little twinkle in the eye. It's really quite frightening to see. I do want to ask about your plan to bring businesses back to New York City. I'm a Floridian. A lot of New York businesses have fled to Florida, a lot of individual citizens of New York City. And I imagine that fear that these businesses and individuals have is compounded when they look at something like the civil fraud judgment against Trump, which was vacated by a New York City appeals court on the grounds of the 8th Amendment. I imagine they have fear when they hear about a 52% tax rate, which we heard from Zoran Mamdani. What is your plan to bring those businesses back from my home state to your state?
What if you were prepared for all those interview curveballs?
To your state.
Oh no, you're 100%. You're 100% right. And with all due respect to your home state, Kaylee, I intend to get those businesses and people back because New York frightened them into going to Florida. This democratic socialist movement, this didn't just start. This has been growing for years. And it's been very powerful in New York City. It controls the New York City Council. So you have had this steady increase of hostility towards the business community. High taxes, high regulations, this mentality that business is bad, wealth is bad, redistribute wealth, tax the rich. We had a big project that could have come to New York that I worked on for a long time, the Amazon headquarters 25,000 jobs. The socialists stopped it. So they chased businesses away. I want to send a totally different message, which is who I was and who I am. We need business. Business is the engine that drives the train. This is New York. We're the capitalist capital of the country. We want entrepreneurs. We want talent. We want you bringing your business here. That's opportunity. That's growth. That's America. And New York is the crystallization of that concept of America. So I'm going to be reaching out to businesses and saying, we get it. I understand what happened. That was wrong. That far left extremism is gone. Come back to New York. We have taxes under control. We want to work with you. We want you to be a vital part of the community. And that's going to be my #1 priority as mayor.
It's a big priority. I had your Republican opponent, Curtis Sliwa, on a few weeks ago. He makes the case that there's not a difference between Zoran Mamdani and yourself. Listen to what he said just a few weeks ago.
What's the difference between Cuomo and Mamdani when it comes to crime? They vote for no cash bail. Remember, Cuomo started that and destroyed the state of New York. He wants to close Rikers Island. So does Mamdani. They share all of these anti-cop, anti-decent quality of life situations that would diminish New York City even further, put the last nail in the coffin.
Your response, Governor.
Well, Kaylee, you have to remember who Curtis Sliwa is. He's a shock jock in New York. He's admitted making up stories about the police and about his exploits. So you have to take everything he says with 2 grains of salt. He's now talking about being a champion of the NYPD. He accused them of kidnapping him at one time, and it turned out to be a farce. But no, my position on public safety in Zoran Mamdani is totally different. I want to add 5,000 police officers. We have the lowest level police force in modern political history because this far left socialist mentality defunded the police. At the beginning of your show, he's talking about defunding the police. They did. They took $1 billion from the police and they dropped it down to the lowest level. We have to get it back up, and that's 5,000 additional officers to what they call full force, which is where it was under Rudy Giuliani as mayor and David Dinkins.
You know, I'm sure the Curtis Lewa campaign would push back on that characterization and say that he's been great for public safety in New York. But that aside, I do want to know, you have to win Republican voters, and there are Republican voters who are distrustful, who say, I didn't agree with your policies as governor. How can I cast my vote for you as mayor? And what do you say to those voters?
Look, I was governor for 11 years, attorney general before that. I was housing and urban development secretary in the Clinton administration. What I say to Republicans is, we're talking about mayor's job, right? Fiorello LaGuardia, one of the old-time greats, said there's no Democratic or Republican way to pick up the garbage. Being a mayor is a functional management operation systems job. We need to increase police by 5,000. We need to increase affordable housing by 500,000 units because the rents are too high, because the supply is too low. We have to get businesses back to New York with a different mentality. I know how to do that. I know how to make government work. I was governor for 11 years. I passed the budget on time every year for 11 years, only 2% growth, more fiscal discipline than Republican governors. So, and New Yorkers know I've been highly effective at getting things done. We have a new LaGuardia Airport, a new Kennedy Airport, a new Second Avenue subway. So there's a lot of positive growth that has happened. And to Republicans, I say, you're New Yorkers. We're all New Yorkers. And this is about the future of New York and saving New York City. And the only alternative is Zoran Mamdani. Curtis Lewa is not an alternative. He is not a viable candidate. You vote for Curtis, you may as well vote for Zoran Mamdani directly. And if this city becomes a Zoran Mamdani city, a socialist city, it's going to be the death of New York as we know it, whether you're a Democrat or Republican.
Yeah, it is a frightening prospect. Governor Andrew Cuomo, great to be with you today. Thank you.
Please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com, and help me escape from New York. Get the olive leaf extract. This is going to help boost up your immune system and help with your cardiovascular system. It brings down inflammation and helps with your lipid profile. You should be taking it every day to boost up that immune system. Omega-3. Omega-3 helps to bring down inflammation, helps with your lipid profile, and helps to prevent your red blood cells from over clotting. Please go to my store and get the omega-3 and improve your cardiovascular health. And a great stack, a great synergistic stack, is the omega-3 and the olive leaf extract to help with cardiovascular health. Another great stack to help with the immune system is the vitamin C and magnesium. Vitamin C will help with the skin, but vitamin C and magnesium also helps to boost up your immune system and helps to boost up your brain function. Magnesium is very important for brain function. Magnesium and zinc boosts up that immune system and helps with that brain function. Take them together, drink it with filtered water. So a great stack for your brain function and your immune system, magnesium and zinc and vitamin C and magnesium. Great stack for your cardiovascular health is the olive leaf extract with the omega-3. Use discount 5 and you get $5 off any order. Make sure you click the link in the description. It's the-studio-reykjavik.com. Another great product that I have is the structural nano silver soaps. You can get it in lavender, in peppermint, and also in charcoal tea tree and lemongrass. So please go to my store, get a few bars of the very high quality structural nano silver soaps. These are soaps that I use year round, but especially for the fall and the winter, you're going to need those. The fall and the winter season is going to be problematic, and you want to get the great high quality products to boost up your immune system and to help to neutralize. Please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com. Now we're going to talk about Bolton. John Bolton.
And earlier today, former National Security Advisor John Bolton appeared in federal court where he pled not guilty to all 18 charges against him. Bolton indicted yesterday for allegedly illegally retaining and dispersing classified information. Now, Bolton was informed in court today that he faces up to 10 years in prison and a $250,000 fine for each and every count. Now you multiply that by 18, that adds up pretty quickly. Bolton will next be in court in about a month. Here with more. Fox News legal analyst Greg Jarrett is with us. I want your take, but to me, either he shared that information, had that information and shared that information, or he didn't. It seems pretty black and white to me. Is there more nuance than that?
No, I think you've nailed it, Sean. You know, some indictments are opaque. This one is not. The evidence appears strong and compelling, not just retaining classified documents criminally, but sharing or transmitting them to people with no security clearance whatsoever. And we're not talking about 1 or 2 records. No, more than 1,000 pages stored on personal electronic devices, as well as paper copies he printed out. The indictment essentially says this is a wholesale pilferage by Bolton of secret government records, then converted for his personal use and vulnerable to theft by foreign enemies. Indeed, that's exactly what happened. He was hacked, and our nation's security was harmed. Missile launches, future attacks, covert operations, strategic communications, even weapons of mass destruction, all divulged. And the hacking by Iran only makes the case legally against Bolton more damning because it's precisely what the Espionage Act was designed to prevent. And it covers both willful and negligent retention of documents, so he can't invoke the oops defense, gee whiz, I was sloppy. His defenses seem to be incredibly weak. These are old documents, his lawyer said. That's irrelevant. Classified documents don't automatically sunset with age. They have to be specifically declassified. Yet, you know, many of these seized records still have the classified markings on them at the high level of top secret. His second defense is, well, he was pre-cleared. Well, that's a concept that doesn't even exist. He's probably referring to Bolton's book, but remember, a federal judge back then scoffed at that claim and warned Bolton that you are exposing yourself to criminal charges. Sure enough, Sean, that's exactly what happened.
Wow, unbelievable. Remember Sandy Burglar? He stuffed all those archived documents in his pants and his socks. Everyone said, oh, he's just being sloppy. Oh, everyone puts, National Archive documents in their pants and socks and walks out. Greg Jarrett, thanks for that report. We appreciate it. Hey, Sean.
Please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com, and get the Boomer Boost. Boomer Boost has 68 nutrients. It has a very comprehensive compound profile shown on the screen. You can read the label on my website. This is a month's supply. You mix it with soft foods, filtered water, a smoothie, or even with milk, but take it every day, and this will help with your heart, your vascular system, your brain function, musculature, rev up your metabolism, and boost up your energy levels. You'll notice the effects of this within 72 hours. And when you take this over a longer duration, like a year, you're going to actually notice that you are slowing down the aging process. You're going to look younger. In addition, this is helping your immune system and your endocrine system, your joint health, brain function, super important to take every day. And another great supplement that you can take separately or stack it with the Boomer Boost is the Gladiator Barley. Gladiator Barley with resistance training is going to help you build muscle, help you to detoxify your body regularly, bring down inflammation, and soak up free radicals through superoxide dismutase. By soaking up free radicals, detoxifying, and bringing down inflammation every day, you're boosting up your immune system, your endocrine system, you're helping your vascular system, and you're helping with brain function. Because when you bring down that inflammation at the cerebral level, your neurons have less stress and they'll be able to maintain that myelin sheath. Super important. So please go to my store, get the Gladiator Barley, and better yet, stack it with the Boomer Boost to get the max benefits, and you'll also be able to control A1C levels. So please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com. Also, I have structural nano silver toothpaste. They don't have any fluoride in it. It'll whiten your teeth, freshen your breath, reduce inflammation at the gum line, and help the health of your gum line. In addition, use this during the fall and the winter to neutralize. Super important. During the fall and the winter season, you need to be taking this structural nano silver toothpaste. So please go to my store, get a few tubes of this toothpaste for your household, and be prepared for the fall and the winter season. Make sure you use discount 5, all caps, discount 5. Click the link in the description to my website, the-studio-reykjavik.com. All right, we're going to go to DW about the No Kings protest.
The No Kings movement are taking large crowds across the US are joining rallies against the Trump administration. More than 2,500 protests under the banner of the No Kings movement are taking place. The protesters say they are standing up against Donald Trump's authoritarian policies, accusing him of believing his rule is absolute. Top Republicans have condemned the gatherings, calling them Hate America rallies.
A constitution, not a king. It's a rallying cry for protesters all across the United States. More than 2,500 events are being held under the banner of the...
If he was a king, do you think he would allow these protests to happen? I'm just saying. If he was a king, would you think that he would allow Mamdani to run for mayor in New York? I'm just saying. Obviously, we don't have a king. Get real. But these individuals that are pushing socialism, they want a one-party government. They want the democratic rule, one-party rule. They want a Maoist takeover. These individuals that are doing this No Kings rally, all they're basically saying is they don't want Trump to be president. That's really what they're saying. All right? But the Democratic Party wants one-party rule. They want to nullify parts of the Constitution. They want to take away your property. They want to control manufacturing, means of production. That's crazy. Now, what are they saying in the details of their protest? They don't want to get rid of illegal immigrants. They don't want ICE raids. So you're accepting illegal immigrants as a policy, but they're using taxpayer dollars. These illegal immigrants. Why not these tax dollars go to citizens of the United States, not to illegal immigrants? Oh, they don't want Trump to send in the National Guard to clean up the streets of major cities, but they would prefer to have heroin addicts running around, gangs running around, having theft and violence running around. They prefer to have a society devolving. They don't want to get rid of certain agencies or certain employees within the government. They prefer a bloated government. Is that their answer? They prefer to spend more taxpayer dollars on bloated government that we don't need. They want a more inefficient government. Is that what they're protesting? Another stupid liberal.
King's movement. Demonstrators say they're fighting against the Trump administration's authoritarian policies. With his vast immigration crackdown, mass firing of federal workers, as well as attacks on political opponents, the media, and judicial independence, protesters have outlined a long list of grievances against the president.
He is just He is dismantling every safeguard that we've had for our country and our democracy, and we need to do something. And
How's he dismantling? See, that's a simple statement. He's dismantling every safeguard that we have in our democracy. Well, what exactly did he dismantle? If he does something that the executive branch doesn't have the power to do, and the Supreme Court says that, doesn't he back off? A king wouldn't. But you have Mamdani that wants to take away property. All right. Now, some people may say that I'm conflating two different issues here, the No Kings Rally and the Mamdani. But you got to remember, most of these people that are running, most of these people that are in these protests, the No King protests, they're socialists. They're ultra liberals. They're liberals. And many liberals are socialists. So you need to push back. Here's this is a great example. Someone says, well, he's nullifying all the safeguards that we have. Really? What exactly did he nullify? Really? What? Where he's having ICE agents come in and actually get rid of illegal aliens? But we were supposed to have a border that was protected to prevent illegal aliens from coming in. So he's trying to clean up, Trump is trying to clean up the mess of Biden. See? It's really easy.
and saying something, protesting, and putting into this because it's not sustainable the way we're going.
See?
In Washington,
it's always
Senator
every
Bernie
single thing that they say is superficial, and you just scratch the surface, there's nothing there. The patina of their logic is very skin deep. Why don't you ask the question, like, didn't Plato warn us that if you have a runaway mob, if you have a runaway pleb, that you're going to end up having tyranny? Isn't that what socialism will lead to? They couldn't answer that question, probably because they never read Plato. But they probably don't even know who Plato is. They probably don't even know what a republic is.
has accused the Republican Party of submitting to the interests of the wealthiest 1% in American society, Trump included.
I'm talking about a billionaire class who believe that they have the
This guy, Sanders, doesn't believe in capitalism. He literally had his honeymoon in the Soviet Union. All right? Sanders is a communist, or a very, very, very ultra socialist. All right? But he's a millionaire and has multiple homes. You know how he did that? He sold books. He knew certain situations that were going on with certain companies and was able to profit it from insider trading. He's a multimillionaire. But he's not a billionaire, so it's okay. He doesn't represent the middle class. How does he represent the middle class? The middle class wishes that they had 1/10 of what he has. It's all bullshit.
who rule and who not only want massive tax breaks for themselves, but who reject any form of accountability or checks on their power. We will not move toward authoritarianism in America. We, the people, will rule.
But Plato said that when that happens, you will have tyranny. Now Bernie Sanders, look at that face. Look at that face. Look how angry he is. We the people are going to rule. I'm real sure, because I have a ancestor that actually signed the Constitution, that ratified the Constitution for New Jersey. All right? I'm real sure that they were about property rights. I'm real sure that it was about a constitutional republic, not a democracy. I'm 100% sure on that. This guy is saying, get rid of the property rights, get rid of the Bill of Rights, get rid of the idea of a constitutional republic, and be a, quote, democracy, where it's mob rule. And Plato was warning, once you do that, you will get tyranny. So can you imagine, look at these people. Look around. Look around. All right? That's what's happening. This is the plebs trying to rise up and nullify what the founding fathers set in motion with the Constitution. This is not promoting the Constitution here. Not at all. Not at all. Not at all. We the people. Now, he is bringing up a very important point, and that is the billionaire class has too much power through PACs and through lobbying groups, and that there needs to be more provisions that are written into law to prevent that from happening. Now the problem comes in, how much of it can you curtail free speech, with the lobbying group. So there's a lot, but there is some movement going on to try to abolish PACs. But that's what needs to be done, is to try to eliminate the money in politics. But he benefited from money in politics. So it's hard to get the senators and the representatives to actually write laws to prevent the benefits that they're getting. But look at that anger that he has. Look at that. It's we the people. We the people are going to, take over. We have a representative government. And most people in the society are stupid. You want stupid people running the show?
Republican politicians have largely dismissed the mass demonstrations, with some referring to them as Hate America rallies.
Yeah,
the protests even drew hundreds to the streets in Florida, where Trump is spending the weekend at his Mar-a-Lago home.
It is intimidating. You do feel silent, because this is Trump and MAGA country down here. But as you can see, there's a lot who also believe in freedom and that the Constitution still matters.
For the millions rallying across all 50 states.
But aren't they the ones that are trying to take away property rights? These ultra liberals. See, maybe what the problem is that people don't understand what the Constitution really is saying. Is Trump going against the Constitution, or is he following the Constitution? We should not. Here's the reality of the situation here with this whole ICE raid stuff. They are getting rid of illegal aliens. The illegal aliens have zero right to be here. Zero right. They're illegal. Period.
That Constitution and the democracy it represents are worth protesting to protect.
For more on this, I'm now joined by Ethan Behrman. He is an adjunct professor at Loyola Law School in Los Angeles and a California talk radio.
All right, let's listen. I don't know what he's going to say, but let's listen. I will give him the benefit of the doubt. But if he says something stupid like some ultra liberal horseshit, I'm going to have to get really upset. please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com, get the cleanse. This is 30 parts per million, or the max 35, which is 35 parts per million. Swish in your mouth, gargle 20 or 30 seconds, and then swallow it. What will happen is that you're going to boost up your immune system. How does it work? You're improving your oral cavity, you're improving your oral pharynx, which is the back of your throat. You're maintaining the mucosal barrier and helping the health of your epithelial cells. Super important to do every day to slow down the aging process and boost up your immune system. You should be especially doing this during the fall and the winter season. Why? Because it helps to neutralize. If you're not feeling well, take a tablespoon or 2 a day. But normal dosage is a teaspoon a day. I've been doing this protocol for over 5 years, every day. Please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com, and get the Max 35 or the cleanse. Take it every day to boost up that immune system, and especially during the fall and the winter. You are going to need this to help to neutralize. Very important. Please go to my store and be prepared for the fall and winter season.
Welcome to DW, Mr. Behrman. Do you think Trump is concerned or even feeling pressured by these kinds of protests?
Interestingly, I don't think he's terribly concerned about the protests. The only thing that he's worried about, it appears right now, is whatever it is he thinks it matters in front of his own face at that moment. More importantly, part of what these protests are likely connected to is the ongoing effort by the Trump administration to pressure states into further gerrymandering districts so they don't lose the midterm House elections next year.
So he's a king, but he's not. Wait a minute here. So they're saying no king, but if he was a king, he would just redistrict the United States in all the states to benefit the Republican Party. But he's not doing that. What's really happening is that the system is working. It's called balance of powers. We have a judicial branch, a legislative branch, and the executive branch. And there is a case. The voter rights are being discussed in the Supreme Court about, can you district based on race? We don't know what our justices will rule on. We don't know. But they've listened to the case and they are going to deliberate, and they're going to put their opinions together, or they're going to do their say, and then issue their edict. When the judicial branch does that, when the Supreme Court does their ruling, how is that Trump being a king? Our system is working. That is the way the liberals don't like what they're getting. They don't like what the Supreme Court may say. And because there's a lot of conservative judges, it must be Trump's a king. Really? If Trump was a king, he wouldn't need the Supreme Court. So what this is really is ultra liberals not getting what they want. But our founding fathers said there are going to be groups of people that don't get what they want, and there are going to be groups of people that do get what they want. But it's going to be based on a balance of powers: judicial, legislative, and executive. And the system is working. This is a guy that's a fucking lawyer. Why isn't he saying this? Why isn't he saying this? Trump must be a king. Must be a king. Because they're going to be trying to redistrict, and they're going to be, if it's struck down, this voters' rights, where you can't redistrict based on race, then it's going to benefit the Republican Party. Well, our politics is based on the whole idea of a free marketplace of ideas. If the Democratic Party can't get votes because their ideas are bad, maybe they should come up with some better ideas.
this kind of complete power that President Trump has over the federal government right now.
Do you see this protest movement getting even bigger than in the next?
Trump
few
has
weeks?
complete power of the federal government. Wait a minute. I thought they were all about we the people. The people voted for Republicans to have control of the House. The people voted for the Republicans to have control of the Senate. The people voted for the Republicans to have power in the executive branch. And over different elections, it so happened that there are more conservative justices on the Supreme Court. But how is that Trump being a king? Wasn't it the will of the people that actually voted them in? And now we have representative government? The system is working. This is what the people want. All right? But if you have pure democracy where you don't really have true representative government, it's mob rule. And mob rule will try to erode property rights. And that's exactly what we're starting to see with Mamdani. The masses are upset and they need to take away property from people. This was warned. This was warned by the philosophers of yesteryear. They hear. I should have known he was a fucking liberal by just looking at his glasses. God, I can't take it anymore. These people are nuts. Nuts. Absolutely nuts. But what they'll do is they'll get onto mainstream media and try to demonize Trump. And the thing is that what is happening in our government is exactly what our founding fathers wanted. A representative government that's working. It's working. We don't know what the Supreme Court's going to say about the voters' rights in terms of racial profiling a certain region. We don't know. They haven't stated what they're gonna how they're gonna rule. Now, most likely, the probability is that they're gonna strike it down, and that you can't use race as a criteria. But what's wrong with that? Should we use race as a criteria? Because if you can use race as a criteria, then you might as well say, well, maybe we'll just use Indians in this region, or just whites in this region. Does that seem fair? No, of course not. So again, I get back to the statement, if the Democrats aren't winning because they have bad ideas, maybe the idea is not protesting. Maybe they should just come up with better ideas.
Yeah, I think it will. And I think there are a lot of reasons why. One, the absolutely poorly planned and poorly executed tariff implementation by this administration is harming everyday Americans, including farmers across the Midwest who can't sell to China anymore due to the president's unilateral actions.
Tariffs. You want to talk about tariffs? Tariffs is a means to bring in government revenue, but it's also a lever to convince corporations to come back to the United States and to help with their manufacturing. Now, if we're going to have a war with China, you better have the economic prowess to be able to sustain the war effort. Secondly, by bringing back manufacturing jobs through increasing tariffs on certain goods in certain companies, then you're building the economic cluster so you have a higher GDP. And if you have a higher GDP, you'll have a lower debt to GDP ratio. In addition, like I said, tariffs is a means for revenues to come into the government. Another means is to raise taxes or to issue more debt. Now, would you rather issue more debt, raise your taxes, or have tariffs? Those are the three ways that you're going to get more tax revenue, more revenue for the government. There's a fourth one, and that is if you have a growing economy, you have more tax revenue. But it's through taxes, through debt issuance, or through debt or through tariffs, where money is flowing in as revenue to the government. Now, the worst one is actually debt because it's the most pernicious. It's the most long lasting. So what do you want? It seems to me that bringing back the economic clustering to the United States is a good thing for everybody because it will allow for more jobs to be created, more businesses to be created, especially with the creative destruction of artificial intelligence. But here, stupid liberal that can't see the forest through the trees. Maybe he needs to get a better prescription for his glasses because obviously he's not seeing things correctly.
Further, we have the layoffs and the furloughs from the federal government that are affecting now numerous communities around the United States, including Trump voting communities such as Ogden, Utah. And so
Chuck E. Schumer, who doesn't know how to grill hamburgers, is the one that's really shutting down the government, not Trump. See, the Democratic Party really wanted to just spend more money for Obamacare. And the Republicans are saying no. And not just that, we have a bloated out government. And a great way to trim it, why do we assume that government should just continue to grow and not be more efficient? Every corporation does it. They do trimming of their staff. They do reorganization. They try to increase productivity. You don't see that in government. Government's all bloated. It's time to trim it. But he thinks that bloated government is better?
continues to grow, it continues to be more pain, and as soon as Americans figure out that 5 to 10 million of them are going to have their health insurance costs double, I would strongly believe that these protests are going to increase in size.
Okay, he's a lawyer and didn't go to medical school, doesn't know anything about medicine. It's probably not that smart. Okay. The best way to reduce healthcare costs is to get people to be healthy. Most diseases in the United States are self-induced through lifestyle. Stop eating the hamburgers, stop eating the fast food, stop eating the chocolate, start working out, do calorie restriction, do proper supplementation. When you do these things, you'll get healthy and you won't have the diabetes and the heart disease, lower incidences of cancer. See, if you take charge of your health, you won't need a doctor as often. And management of chronic diseases will radically go down. And when that happens, guess what? Healthcare costs go down. Look at that. Look at that. What a liberal lawyer. So why don't we just tell Americans, look in the mirror and stop being a fat pig? No, we would rather say, Trump's at fault. Continue eating your Burger King. And let's just spend more money on healthcare. No, that's not the answer. The answer is to actually get to the root cause. And that is the lifestyle of Americans are terrible for their health, and they need to start getting healthy because it's breaking the system financially. That literally their fatness, Americans' fatness, has gotten to the point where it's literally breaking the economic viability of the country. They're going to sink the ship because they think that it's okay to be unhealthy.
Fairly dramatically. Okay. Now, top Democrats have also joined these protests. Could this be a chance for them to strengthen their party?
No.
You know, it's very interesting that the Democrats have had a challenge in this term of.
Yeah, he's from Los Angeles. He's from Los Angeles. The land of the fruits and nuts.
He's been in office about 9 more months now, this time around. And they have had a very difficult time coalescing around as singular and easy to understand messages. I genuinely believe that the health insurance issue is going to be a huge one, but also reaching out to the farmers. But the biggest challenge I see for the Democrats is unifying around a message on how they are going to help the average American, not just the idea of no kings and preserving our democracy, but we know from data that Americans turn out to vote based on their own pocketbooks, not kind of big picture ideas for the most part.
You've already alluded to this, but how does the government shutdown that's now in its third week play into these protests?
Yeah, and it's interesting. I want to start by prefacing by saying that the way a government shutdown works here in the United States is the Congress has to pass spending resolutions. That's the House of Representatives and the Senate, and then the president has to sign them. The president has.
Yeah, but the thing is the president isn't at fault with the shutdown. It's really the Senate. That's a legislative branch. It has nothing to do with the executive branch. But I thought that they were protesting that Trump's the king. Shouldn't they be protesting the Senate?
Very clear in his desire for this shutdown, to leverage this shutdown to further reduce the federal workforce, to further consolidate power under the executive branch, under something that used to be mocked called the unitary executive theory, which is being executed rather swiftly right now by this administration. So the government shutdown is actually something the Republicans have total control over. And before anybody wants to argue that point, they did it with Trump judicial nominees. You don't have to have any Democratic votes in the Senate. More so, what we've also seen with this president is more executive orders in his first 9 months here in office in his second term than the entire Biden administration did in one term. But more so, over 4 years and 9 months of Trump's presidency, he has leveraged the executive power more than 12 years total of Biden and Obama in their presidencies. So this shutdown is just part of his strategy under Project 2025, which he claimed to disavow, but clearly has bought into and is executing upon now.
That's Ethan Berman, adjunct professor at Loyola Law School. Thank you so much for all of that content.
Okay, now it starting to make sense. Professor of law in the land of the fruits and nuts. Right? Nothing positive to say about Trump. You didn't say that maybe the government is over bloated. Maybe the government needs to be trimmed down. Do you think a Democrat's going to allow for the trimming of government? Of course not. They want bigger government. They want more control. They want to take away your property rights so they manage your business, manage your property, manage your 401k. They're going to manage everything in your life. They're even going to manage how much protein you can have in a week. So they're going to have to hire so many government officials to make sure that you're not getting too much protein. Please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com, and get the heirloom barley. Heirloom barley is a high-density protein. It has the micronutrients that you need to help to detoxify your body, bring down inflammation, and soak up free radicals so superoxide dismutase. It's a very high-quality supplement that you should be taking every day. This is a month's supply, and by detoxifying your body and bringing down inflammation daily, you're helping your brain function, you're helping your vascular system, you're helping with your immune system and your endocrine system, even your joints, your joint health. So please take my advice, boost up that immune system, especially for the fall and the winter, and take the heirloom barley. Now, some other great supplements that I have are the vitamin B complex. Vitamin B complex will help to boost up your energy levels, rev up your metabolism, and protect your neurons. Myotrol will help with youthful gene expression to help with building muscle and maintaining muscle. When you get age 40, guess what? You have certain genes that are methylated. So the expression of those genes are either reduced or turned off. All right? What you want is to help boost up that expression for building muscle and maintaining muscle and help with the health of the mitochondria. This has flavonoids, polyphenols, and lignans to help with that gene expression to build muscle. Take this every day and do some resistance training. Drink it with filtered water. It's very important. And by having musculature, you're going to be able to have more vitality. You're going to be able to control your blood glucose levels, because with more muscle mass, you're less insulin resistant, and overall mobility will improve. So please take my advice, do resistance training and take the Myotrol. Good night formula. This has tryptophan, melatonin, GABA, and passion flower. This is going to allow you to get into 5 cycles of REM sleep and deep sleep. So you are consolidating memory, detoxifying your central nervous system, and you'll be well rested. By doing this regularly, you're slowing down the aging process. And another great neural stack is Clarity Factor. Clarity Factor is going to get rid of that brain fog, allow you to concentrate, and over time, improve those dendritic connections, improve that neuroplasticity. And when you do that, you're going to be able to think faster and you're going to have better memory. Clarity Factor is super important to improve brain function. Please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com, use discount 5 and get the great supplements that I offer. Make sure you use discount 5, all caps, discount 5. Click the link in the description, go to my website, the-studio-reykjavik.com. Get that Clarity Factor and Good Night formula. It's a great stack for neuro. And the Myotrol to help with building muscle and to rev up your cellular metabolism, the vitamin B complex, and this will also help to protect neurons. So build muscle, improve your neural stack. Very powerful if you take these 4 together. Make sure that you use discount 5 to get the $5 off of any order. Please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com. All right, another liberal. It's amazing. I tell you, I just makes you want to just barf all over their face. All right. All right, let's listen into.
Here's why. 1, lift up like no.
News coming out of Gaza, out of the Middle East.
That's right. There is a Fox News alert. Israel carrying out retaliatory strikes in Gaza after Hamas violated the new ceasefire deal by attacking Israeli soldiers on the Strip.
Chief Political Correspondent Craig Yanks joins us live in Tel Aviv with the latest. Hey, says Craig.
Yeah, hey guys, good morning. Israel says Hamas has violated the ceasefire agreement by launching a rocket-propelled grenade and sniper attacks against Israeli forces within the enclave. The Israelis have already responded, striking targets in the southern and northern parts of Gaza. And we do have some new information for you. The office of the Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu releasing a statement just minutes ago saying there was a security consultation held after that violation with the top security echelon here in Israel and the country's defense minister, and that the prime minister has instructed the military to act forcefully against terror targets inside the Gaza Strip. We're getting a similar statement from the Israeli military saying the IDF will respond firmly. So we can expect more Israeli strikes throughout Gaza later today as the Israelis try to set a new precedent with Hamas that these attacks will not be tolerated within the Gaza Strip. Remember, the Israelis still control around 53% of Gaza as part of the phase 1 of President Trump's peace plan in the Middle East. That is expected to change if the plan moves forward. But the Israelis are committed, they say, to striking Hamas if there are violations to the agreement. Already we've heard from top Israeli ministers, including Itamar Ben-Gvir and Bezalel Smotrich. They are encouraging the prime minister to return to war. We should be very clear here, though. Just because Hamas has violated the ceasefire agreement doesn't mean the deal is over. These ceasefires are never pretty, and there are often violations to them, but we understand that it still remains in place. And Hamas is releasing a statement of their own saying they weren't aware of any sort of movement in the southern part of Gaza, but the Israelis, like we said, are expected to respond later today. Hamas still must release the bodies of 16 hostages as phase one remains underway. Overnight, 2 additional remains were released by the terror organization. As this moves forward, though, there are questions about how negotiators are going to be able to hold together this agreement. Remember, the president, as part of this larger plan, is still calling on Hamas to lay down their weapons, to disarm and leave the Gaza Strip, or to commit to peace. With the violation today, certainly this raised.
Hopefully, I have my show with John Hope tonight at 10 p.m. So just if you're watching, please make sure that you watch the live version. I also will release on the other channels. So that will be tonight at 10 p.m. Now, I said to John 2 weeks ago, I did not think that this ceasefire would last, that the ceasefire would be signed, but it wouldn't last. He didn't think it would even be signed. And I also said that it's very important that this false peace is going to rear its, the negativeness of this false peace is going to be a curse on the world after September 11th of 2026, because that's when Rosh Hashanah is coinciding with Shabbos, and you're not supposed to blow the shofar. When you don't blow the shofar on Shabbos because of Rosh Hashanah, all right, then what will happen is that it doesn't silence Satan, and therefore there's a curse that comes down. Now that curse can be on a local unit like a person, or a larger unit like a community, or even a larger unit like a country, or even a larger unit, a large region, or the world. Now, if you look at the history of what has been going on for several decades, there has been times when that Satan hasn't been silenced because Rosh Hashanah is coinciding with Shabbos, and there's no blowing the shofar. And it starts at the curse level of the Orthodox community, where there's either hostages or people are killed, because of some sort of terrorism. And then it gets to the point where it goes into the secular community, and then more nationwide, and then regional, and then worldwide. Right? So I think that this curse that's coming up on September 11th is going to rear itself in 2026 and into 2027, because the Jewish calendar is based on the lunar calendar. So it's going to start September 11th, 2026, all the way into October of 2027. When this happens, the world is going to see tumultuous things. Financial problems, conflict and war. There's a potentiality of having a war in the Pacific over Taiwan. Russia and Ukraine may get worse. Maybe Article 5 will be issued. There might be a crash in the financial system in 2027. So beware what is happening. Now, John didn't think that was going to take place, but I'm telling you, I'm concerned about it. I'm very concerned about it. Now, if there is a lasting peace, then this probably won't happen. But it seems like there's a false peace here that was pushed, and that the world will be cursed because of this. Because of the world community not being able to come together and to de-escalate this.
Tension across the Middle East. but it does not mean that the deal is over. The latest information that we have this morning, this violation took place according to the Israeli military. And again, we can expect more Israeli response later today, likely in the form of airstrikes targeting Hamas inside the Gaza Strip. Guys?
And so, Trey, as you mentioned earlier, talking with us, you're not surprised. We spoke to a IDF soldier in the last hour who served over in Gaza since October 7th. He's not surprised. But is it different now as they try and hold this ceasefire together that you have Arab countries buying into this plan?
Absolutely. Remember, this was a comprehensive peace plan that was presented by President Trump. It built in contingencies for these type of events. And that is part of the reason that within the deal, you have an international stabilization force that ultimately will enter Gaza, and it will have oversight from U.S. Central Command to keep the peace, to ensure that Hamas is not violating the ceasefire agreement. And there are efforts underway as we speak to get that force together and ultimately have them enter the Gaza Strip. It will be Muslim majority countries, Arab neighbors of Israel, that will actually be participating. There will be no U.S. boots on the ground. But this is a very important part of the agreement because it will help to stabilize the situation inside Gaza. Oftentimes we see these violations take place, but they don't actually collapse the agreement. There will be a bit of back and forth that takes place, and things will move forward as planned. And that is what we can expect here out of what's taking place today, even if future Israeli strikes take place in response to this ceasefire violation. Also within the agreement that was presented and accepted by both Israel and Hamas, there will be a technocratic government that enters Gaza that will have moderate representation within the enclave to ensure that Hamas is not taking control once again. We saw these very disturbing videos just last week of Hamas executing its opponents inside Gaza. People it claims were stealing aid or working with the Israelis. And that's exactly what the region does not want to see. President Trump warned Hamas against doing this late last week. And he's been very forceful in his statements against the terrorist organization to ensure that they are not raining terror across not just Israeli forces inside Gaza, but their own people. Even last night, the U.S. State Department released a statement saying that there was intelligence that Hamas planned to launch new attacks against Palestinians inside Gaza. And so a lot of instability still within the enclave, and questions about how the Israelis are going to respond to this alleged ceasefire violation.
Trey, so it seems to me that it would be really important to get this transition government or this technocratic government in place rather quickly if you don't want these things to happen. Do we have any indication of when this will stand up, this new government?
So we don't know an exact timeline, but we know that regional parties are working on it at this moment. Not only the Qataris, but also the Egyptians. There's involvement of Turkey and other players in the Middle East. We also know that Vice President J.D. Vance and also President Trump's Middle East envoy Steve Witkoff are headed to the region this week, and they will have many of these meetings to move the ball forward. This is going to take some time, and you will see ceasefire violations in the future. It is something that Hamas does, and they've not only done it now, but they did it in the past when there were ceasefire agreements between Israel and Hamas. It doesn't mean that the deal is over, and it doesn't mean that President Trump's peace plan is not working. It will take some time to implement not only the technocratic government of Gaza that will exist in the future, but also this international stabilization force. We don't have an exact timeline, but I can tell you, according to sources that I've talked to, both here in the region and in the United States, they are working on it each and every day to get these forces together so that this can move forward and phase 2 can get underway.
Thank you, Trey. We'll be checking back with you all morning.
Thanks, Trey.
Please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com, and get the digestive enzyme complex. This will help to reduce the load on your pancreas, help you to digest proteins, carbohydrates, and lipids. This is super important to reduce that stress on your digestive system, to help you absorb your energy, and to slow down the aging process. In addition, this has bromelain, which helps to break up clots, and the proteolytic enzymes in here will help to break up glycoproteins. This is the reason why I said to take digestive enzyme complex during the crisis of 2020. It behooves you to get the digestive enzyme complex for the fall and winter season. Resveratrol. I've been taking resveratrol for decades. It helps with youthful gene expression. It helps the health of the mitochondria. and that will boost up your energy levels. It'll soak up free radicals, bring down stress in the cell, and help to get rid of cells that are in senescence. This stacks well with C60, NAD+, ubiquinol, clarity factor. And a great foundational piece for improving your health is taking the complete multivitamin. This multivitamin has the cofactors for enzymatic activity so your cells perform properly. Take this every day. Make sure you drink it with filtered water. I also have dual purpose deodorants for males or females. You can get it in peppermint, lavender, and tea tree, or in citrus. This has no aluminum, no baking soda. It's made from essential oils from the Himalayas, very high quality ingredients. And these deodorants you use every day, and they will also help to detoxify your body. So by detoxifying your body daily, you're helping your immune system and your endocrine system. Super important. And lastly, zeolite. Zeolite is a great way to detoxify your body, get rid of heavy metals, toxins, and chemicals. It'll bind to them and allow you to urinate them out within 6 to 8 hours. Take it every day. Take 3 small drops underneath your tongue and drink the filtered water. Make sure you take it every day. Detoxify that body. And like I said, by doing that, you're helping your immune system and your endocrine system, even your brain function. Because when you are getting rid of those toxins, your body will perform better. Please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com. The link is in the description of this video and all my videos. And make sure you use discount 5 to get $5 off.
News out of France, there has been a robbery at the world-famous Louvre Museum in Paris. Well, let's cross live to the city and to our correspondent, Hugh Schofield. And Hugh, what can you tell us?
Well, I can tell you that this news has just broken. It happened only a couple of hours ago. 3 men, it seems, broke into the Louvre Museum after it opened. It wasn't an overnight robbery. It was when there were people in the museum. Short about 9:30, this happened. They broke in on the Seine River side of the museum using a goods lift. Now, it's not clear to me whether this goods lift was inside the building or whether it was on the outside of the building, temporarily installed because there's renovation work there. In any case, they used this lift to go up to the first floor there, broke into the Apollo Gallery, breaking through the windows, maybe using the small chainsaws which they had to break in. And then in this Apollo Gallery, which is a very ornate gallery containing what remains of the French crown jewels, they robbed a number of these items of jewellery. One newspaper is saying 9 items, but that's not being confirmed. They then very quickly got out, down the lift presumably, and onto 2 scooters, or 1 scooter, scooters in any case, and were seen making a way down towards the south of Paris and out on the motorway that way, towards the motorway that leads out of Paris that way. So that's what we know. It is, of course, an enormously bad bit of news for the Louvre Gallery and a very dramatic event.
You mentioned crown jewels. Do we know what kind of jewels were in this room?
Well, I'm not an expert, but I've done a quick bit of research, and you know, the crown, there were French crown jewels just as there were British crown jewels, and most of them were broken up after the revolution disappeared. But you know, after the revolution, there were other monarchies and empires in France, and they accumulated bits of jewelry as well. A lot of them were sold off and broken off, so it's not like it was like the British crown jewels, but there were a number of very, very valuable items of jewelry there, particularly one belonging to the Empress Eugénie, who was the wife of Napoleon III, who ruled France between 1850 and 1870. Among those items are some which are quite well known, with diamonds and other items of jewelry in them, and diadems and crowns and so on. And if those have gone, then that is a big deal.
Do we know what kind of security was in place at the Louvre when this happened?
Well, I mean, it goes without saying that, you know, the place is an extremely elaborate system of protection. I mean, there are guards there and electronic alarms, and I'm sure all sorts of things. It's interesting that the break-in happened, though not overnight, which is when most of these robberies take place. You know, robbers infiltrating under the cover of night and so on. This was brazen. This is when there were people about. This is when it was open. But I guess they imagined they could do it sufficiently quickly that they could get in and out before being stopped. And I suppose that this, well, I imagine, but I'm speculating here that this renovation work might have allowed them access that they would not otherwise have been able to have if they could get up on a special lift that was there. But all this remains to be elucidated. We need to find out the value of the hall, what exactly has gone, whether it is indeed these jewels from the Emperor Eugenie's collection, how much that is worth, and how they got in. We just don't know. But it's certainly, in my recollection, the biggest, well, the most dramatic breaking of the Louvre that there's been. I can't recall any other like this.
And of course, the investigation is underway by the authorities as well. Chief Schofield, thank you for bringing us up to date there from Paris.
If you eat butter daily, this is what happens. The reason butter is called butter is because of the butyric acid. The best part of butyric is most people don't know that the lining of your colon, the cell,
Markets
about the
yesterday
semiconductor.
were a little bit on edge, to say the least. Are there lots more credit cockroaches out there in your view?
And not more of a downcline, but the beginning of an upcline. So listen, my next guest says last Friday's flush was the beginning of the fourth quarter rally, and not more of a downcline, but the beginning of an upcline. And I got to tell you something. I want to show you to check this out. Right, the list of clients at Bank of America. And sorry, Rich Ross is with this. Sorry, Rich. So this is interesting. They put this out. This is their clients, but we had the fifth largest week, right, of buying the dip.
Too long.
What was really more important, though, the biggest ever week for buying a dip when the market was down at least 1%. So you say, well, golly, that's dumb money chasing. Was it really just so-called dumb money? Yeah, retail was in there, but look at institutions buying the dip. So, you know, people are understanding this. You want to be a part of it, but you've been more aggressive than most. In fact, your target between now and the end of the year is 7,400, right?
Yes, I still think there's 10% upside into year end, Charles.
Wow. So what takes us there, Rich?
So keep in mind, in an average year, we're going into the strongest period of seasonality for the market. Seasonality in isolation is not a reason to embrace a market or to sell it. But the key point is, in an average year, you get a 5% gain November, December. This is an above average year from both the top down and the bottom up. Keep in mind, you've got the most bullish setup in terms of the Federal Reserve pivot. You've got the 10-year yield at 4%. You've got crude oil at $58. You've got the wealth effect of an S&P 500 at an all-time high. Again, going into the strongest period of seasonality with the Fed at your back for the first time in 4 years. I like those odds, Charles.
Yeah, I like those odds as well. Let's talk about making money in this market, right? Wall Street spends so much time. Is it the bubble? Is it over? You're like, no way. And this is sort of how you set it up with your tech plays. Why Broadcom and NVIDIA together? I mean, it's sort of, you don't have to pick one or the other.
Yeah, I love these both structurally and tactically, meaning like right now. Let's do away with the Wall Street nomenclature, as it were. Semiconductors still the underlying commodity of AI, of technology, and that's the bedrock of the bull market. These are the two leading stocks here. What I love about it right now, tactically, these stocks are essentially unchanged over the past month. NVIDIA's just been consolidating, sort of lying in the weeds. So you talk about how hard it is for active managers to outperform. The way to outperform is to zig when others are zagging. These stocks lying in the weeds, they're rested and ready to rock over the past 2 months, following 2 months.
I was kind of surprised when I saw Oracle as your highest conviction, right? Full disclosure, I have my subscribers who get out of it around 35 or whatever. But obviously there's a story there. That's how you don't get a stock moving up like this with these giant gaps if there's not a story there. What's the next leg of the story that takes it so high?
Yeah, exactly. You know, technical things happen for fundamental reasons. You can see that big window there, that gap higher, 35% move in 1 day for what is now an $850 billion company. Clearly, there is change afoot that the market has not seen. So again, similar to Broadcom and NVIDIA, Oracle has now consolidated that massive 35% 1 day move over the last month, 20% correction, back to the fifth day, ease that overbought condition. You are ready for the next leg up. It's going to take over 400.
Like banks and financials, real quick, I got 2 more screens if we can get through them.
100%.
American Express and Capital One. American Express I want to zero in on because it felt like, we had Circle, Stablecoin, some of these names, right? And I'm going to go drill down even a little bit more. No, so some of these names are you worried that Stablecoin, those kind of things may start to erode some of the opportunities for these big companies that we thought had impenetrable moats?
Well, again, I'm going to stick to the charts, and the American Express itself has an outstanding chart. Financials, in particular, the big banks. So again, almost a microcosm of what's going on in the economy and the consumer. Post the Fed, you've seen grave weakness in consumer stocks. Those fears have been assuaged by the strength in American Express, the blowout earnings from the banks. So again, I'm not overly concerned by the threat that is offered by stable coins or the crypto ecosystem, as it were.
All right, real quick, small caps you like. I love the chart that you use, but because you mentioned something I'm not sure I've ever heard of it. You said that the more cowbell, is that sort of the breakout? This is so small caps are going up, but this is probably kind of more important for a lot of people. This is relative to the large caps. They're making a nice breakout here, right? This is what you really think is the true buy signal?
I would buy them absolutely, but I'm not ready to go small over big relatively, and I'll tell you why. Again, just real fast, it's hard to think about the world being in a bubble. Small caps are where they were 4 years ago in 21. So a bubble is not when something is unchanged over 4 years. But again, the macro backdrop is more conducive to an expansion of breadth, but at the same time, it's still big over small. Big banks, big tech.
Big. You think big, and you've been making people a lot of big money. Thank you so much, Rich. Really love your energy and your smarts.
Please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com, and get the collagen. This collagen will help with your skin, your nails, your hair, your musculature, your joint health, your cartilage, and your bone density. Take it every day. This is a month's supply. Super important. Make sure you do resistance training. Also, because of the fall and the winter season, you need to prepare. Get the lozenges that I have in elderberry zinc. Also, the drops you can get in honey and lemon, blueberry, or in cherry. Get a few bags for your household. Be prepared for the fall and the winter season. The moment you have that throat irritation, take them right away. Because what is happening in the fall and the winter could be very problematic because it's attaching to the epithelial cells in the oral pharynx, and you want to mitigate it right away. So please be prepared for the fall and the winter season and get the lozenges and the drops. Use discount 5, you get $5 off any order. Get a few bags for your household. Be prepared. And once you mitigate that irritation in the throat right away, you're reducing the chances of it festering. All right, I'm gonna listen to Jocko talking about young men are waking up. I think this is talking about maybe liberal policies.
American drug cartels have gone unchecked as they funnel illicit drugs into our country that kills our people. But those days are over because the buck stops with President Trump. This week, our military launched another strike on a suspected drug boat in the Caribbean. And despite Nicolas Maduro's best efforts to have these strikes declared illegal by the UN Security Council, President Trump can't be intimidated, and he isn't letting up anytime soon. In fact, he's now weighing a direct land hit. And just this week, he even authorized the CIA to conduct covert operations within Venezuela. Joining me now is retired Navy SEAL commander and New York Times bestselling author, Jocko Willink. Jocko, welcome to My View. I am such a fan of yours and all you stand for. You're all about getting the job done, about work ethic and all of those things. We have a president who's getting the job done. He's not going to be intimidated. He's sending a strong signal out there. We've seen multiple strikes now on these Venezuelan drug boats so that they can't bring illicit drugs into our country. And listen to what the president had to say about what he thinks might come next.
We are certainly looking at land now because we've got the sea very well under control. We've had a couple of days where there isn't a boat to be found. And that I view that as a good thing, not a bad thing. Every boat is saving 25,000 lives, and you can see it. The boats get hit, and you see that fentanyl all over the ocean. We're going to stop them by land also.
All right, so he says he's going to stop them by land also. We may see our military dealing with some of these drug cartels on land. What do you think of that tactic? Is that the best next move?
Well, I think Tom Clancy wrote a novel about this years ago called Clear and Present Danger, which was about attacking the Colombian drug lords down that were killing Americans through their drug trade. And this is the same thing that we see now, but it's taken a long time until finally someone steps up and is doing something about it. These drugs kill 100,000 people a year in America, and it certainly seems like we should be taking action, and it certainly seems like President Trump is taking action.
Yeah, he's not afraid to do the right thing to protect the American people. I'll tell you somebody, Jocko, who's probably not thrilled with it is Nicolas Maduro. And while this administration hasn't gone so far as to say that they are advocating for a regime change, I think a lot of people are hopeful that he takes his socialist grip off of the Venezuelan people. So what's your take on what we might see there? Could we possibly see all of this resulting in a regime change and new leadership for the people of Venezuela?
There's no doubt that this activity is going to cause all kinds of disruption to the economic systems down there, the political systems down there. And this is the kind of thing that can lead to uprisals in the country. So there's going to be a lot of pressure. It'll be interesting to see the way it plays out. And I think we'll be finding that out in the coming months.
Well, speaking of crazy socialists and people who apparently are hell-bent on destroying things, AOC did a bit of a CNN town hall this week, and listen to what she had to say about Republicans apparently radicalizing young men. Listen to this.
They are able to radicalize and target and exploit a generation of young boys, in particular, away from healthy masculinity.
What? Wait. You have the Democratic Party that has captured the Department of Education and has been pushing gender dysphoria, pushing trans athletes in women's sports, pushing the pride, movement to school kids, elementary school kids. What is this? The Democratic Party is trying to brainwash kids. And then she's getting up on stage saying it's the Republicans that are doing this? What? No, what we need is to say it's God, country, and family. All right? It's really simple. You have to have spirituality in your life. You have to have affinity to the flag and to the country to build some morality. And you have to have a sense of responsibility for family. And when you do that, you have a better society. And this idea of becoming more athletic, this idea of getting in shape and being a sheepdog, what's wrong with that? What's wrong with that? Oh, that's unhealthy masculinity. So they'd rather have a bunch of soy boys than people that are into sports. Because when you're into sports, you're ready for a war. When you're into sports, you're getting healthier. And when you're into sports, you learn these other skills like teamship and working together. Leadership skills come out of that. Super important. Super important. You have a bunch of soy boys, guess what? You don't have the leadership skills. You don't have the musculature. You don't have the bone density. You don't have the kinematics. And you're sure as hell ain't prepared for war. This woman is a fucking dipshit.
To an insecure masculinity that requires the domination of others who are poorer, browner, darker, or a different gender than them.
Jocko, you've written a book series, Way of the Warrior.
First of all, in the military, it takes all races. It's not just white. There's lots of brown and Latinos. And what is she talking about? You look at sports, even in the Ivy League, there are different nationalities in football or in soccer. What is she talking about? We are the most colorblind generation in American history. And she's making it sound like it's 1850s.
And you talk about lessons you learned as a Navy SEAL and in all of your training there. So I would love to get your take on what you just heard there from AOC. Do you think Republicans are radicalizing young men?
No, actually, I would say the opposite. I think that it's actually the left-wing radicals that have done more to push young men towards conservative, because they've been telling for the last several years, they've been saying that these young men are evil, that competition is bad, that hard work is bad, that the military is bad, police are bad. They're saying that steak and V8 engines are bad, and that family and God and country are bad.
See, this is exactly what I'm talking about. This is I've been saying this God, country, and family stuff for years. All right, for years, because that's the foundation of society. And you listen to an ultra liberal, they're against God, they're against family, and they're against country. Some of the even though this seems kind of idealistic in part of romanticism in terms of philosophy, but there is something to be said about the idea of the Girl Scouts and the Boy Scouts, right? It set certain moral codes at a young age so they could be productive citizens later in life, all right? But you listen to the ultra liberals today, they weren't just a bunch of soy boys. That's in terms of males. The ultra liberal wants soy boys that push liberal agenda, and they want they want a bunch of Karens. They want the female to be a raving bitch, and in many cases just ugly. You look at an ultra liberal chick, she's just ugly. There's so much hate in their face. And then they got all the body tattoos and the ear piercings, and they have all this gender dysphoria. They just blue hair, they just look ugly. Ugly. Because they have moved away from this idea of God, country, and family. There's nothing wrong with being conservative. There's nothing wrong with it. And people that are conservative need to push back. Now, being conservative doesn't mean that you're a racist. Being conservative doesn't mean that you don't, understand the plight of individuals that are less fortunate. There are more conservatives that actually donate, have philanthropic activities than liberals. So it's better to be a conservative individual. But there's no doubt in my mind that if you have God, country, and family as a North Star, that your society will be better.
They're going to react to it. And I think they're trying to get young men to suppress their natural instincts, their natural instincts to be strong, their natural instincts to be assertive, their natural instincts to be protective. And when you try and suppress someone, what do? They're going to lean back into their natural instincts. And so I think that the left wings, the far left, might be imposing their views too much.
This is a reason why they want the gender dysphoria and the soy boys, because when you have the soy boys, what's happening with the soy boys? The soy boys, they're reducing their testosterone levels. All right. Well, if you reduce the testosterone level and then you have this pulse sociologically with this gender dysphoria, you're going to try to suppress those natural instincts. So there is a concerted effort to try to demasculinate the society. But the thing is, you stay away from that soy. You don't get the sociological pulse that's being projected on the youth for gender dysphoria. And you are competitive and you're athletic and you take the ideals of, learning more, then you're going to be just a more protective individual and a team player. Compare someone that is athletic, good with their academics, that has a moral compass, that has God, country, and family in their life. They're a better citizen than a soy boy. I mean, if you have to fight in a war, do you want a soy boy fighting for you, or someone that is really good in sports, right? But not just it. Back in the day, they were trying to demonize jocks. You know, it was always the dumb jock versus the academic. This is part of, I think, the beginnings of this liberal BS in academia. But if you really think about Greek ideal or the Roman ideal, the Roman and the Greek ideal is really athletics with academics. They weren't separate, they were together because there was a holistic idea that you improve your body through athletics and you improve your mind through academics. Socrates, he fought in wars, but he was one of the biggest philosophers of the Western civilization. Way more important than any philosopher today or, you know, any academic. And that was Socrates. Aristotle. I'm pretty sure it was Aristotle that also fought in the wars, was part of the military. So there's many people that are athletic, that were part of the military, and that were academic, and that were philosophical leaders. So don't fall into the trap that to be a philosopher or to be an academic, that you have to be a soy boy. No, actually, if you couple athletics with academic attainment, that is a better holistic person.
Radicalizing young men. But I would say that young men are waking up. Young men are realizing that it's actually okay to be strong. In fact, it might be good to be strong. It's actually okay to have goals. It's okay to want to win. And those aren't radical views at all. Those, to me, are just American values. Those are just hard work and discipline and respect and patriotism. And I do not believe, and I don't think that most people believe, that patriotism is a radical view. And yes, I put those values out inside my kids' books, Way of the Warrior Kid, where young girls and boys can recognize that things like hard work and discipline will pay off in the long run, and that is the American way.
Yep, totally agree.
Well, I'll tell you, that's how Eric.
Totally agree. And this falls in line. This falls in line with Cub Scouts and Boy Scouts and Girl Scouts and the Brownies and all this stuff, right? Because you want to instill hard work and this ideal of body and mind. And it's about God, country, and family. And that's how you break the back of the ultra-liberal. That's how you prevent Marxism. That's how you have a productive society. Push back. Stop the blue hair bullshit. Stop the nose piercing Karen BS. Guess what? We can make this nation the most prosperous and most forward-thinking nation ever on the face of the earth for many generations to come. When it comes to planetary colonization, it's gonna be from the United States. Now think about how impressive that is as a milestone of the ingenuity of mankind. And that's gonna come from America. That's gonna be coming from America, I can, not I can't.
That you have a book series out there and that you're all about that too. There are a lot of moms and dads who have changed their tune and they want their kids to go on the path that you're talking about. We still have the government shutdown dragging on. You obviously are a veteran. We are so grateful for your service to our country. And we had 1.3 million active duty military members, Jocko, who were about to lose out on a paycheck. But President Trump stepped in and he said, I want to make sure the Pentagon gets these men and women, our service members, paid. Tell me, what does that mean to have a president who is willing to fight for our military members in the same way they're willing to fight for all of us?
Yeah, it's outstanding, and you really can't have it any other way. We've got these young men and women that are out there. They've got to defend our country. They've got to focus on their mission. And the last thing we want them to be worried about is paying their rent, paying their mortgage, making their car payments. We don't want them thinking about that. So amazing move by President Trump and the Secretary of War to get the troops paid so they can continue to do their job and fulfill their mission.
Amen to that. We are grateful for every single one of them, and we're grateful for you joining us here on My View tonight.
Please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com, and take this stack that's going to help your cardiovascular system, your immune system, even your brain function. By bringing down inflammation, you're helping your immune system, you're reducing plaque formation, and by bringing down inflammation at the cerebral level, you're protecting your neurons. Taking ashwagandha root is going to help to control your blood glucose levels and your cortisol levels. Turmeric is going to soak up free radicals and bring down inflammation, bring down those pro-inflammatory cytokines. Lignans will help your immune system and your endocrine system, bring down inflammation and soak up free radicals. When you stack these together, you're slowing down the aging process, you're helping your brain function, you're protecting your neurons, and you're reducing plaque formation. Super important for your cardiovascular health. But take this stack for the fall and the winter, especially because what this is going to do is it's going to reduce the severity. So please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com, boost up your immune system, take this stack, especially in the fall and the winter. But if you take it year round, you're going to see all these added benefits that I just mentioned. Please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com. The link's in the description of this video and all my videos. Make sure you use discount 5 and you get $5 off any order.
Great conversation with Tim Quassel. Let's bring him back in. He is founder, president, and CEO of Modern IR. Tim, welcome. All right, so what are you seeing with market structure right now that might give us little clues about how stocks can trade ahead?
Brian, it's great to see you. I think you and I think, are the only people left on the planet who care about market structure, aren't we?
By the way, that's not a bad thing because it's another way to look at the market, and it has been very accurate. So I like this, and I'm not going to pretend I understand everything you say, but I try.
Well, you're the host for a reason, and that's because you succeed. But so here's what the data are telling us, and not to self-congratulate, but you and I talked. I think it was April 28th, and I observed, not knowing what would happen, that the probability of volatility could return late Q3 or early Q4. And here we are, early Q4, and we have this sudden surge in volatility. And what does that? How come the market, how come the futures are down 400 points and then the market goes up 400 points? And how come it appears that every time Donald Trump says something, the market moves and then it doesn't? Is there a rational explanation for all of these things? And I will submit to you, Brian, that there is. And it's not that we all are constantly reacting to news, no offense, and whatever the president says, but it's because the market is mathematical. And most of the time, it's very predictable. I've mentioned the 1, 2, 3 rule before. You can look at the market today. 50 to 60 basis points gains across the board. That's half the market's volatility. This is how the market works. There's the 1, 2, 3 rule is 1% is SPY. I'm picking them as an example of the benchmark. 2% is how much the basket of underlying stocks will move. 3% is momentum. And that works until the gaps narrow. It's the opposite of the VIX. Everybody wants to look at the VIX, but it's a consequence. If you see SPY, the spread narrow to 50 or 60 basis points, look out. And that is what happened in early October.
That is that coiled spring, effectively, I think.
Well, yes, and here's why. Because, if people think the stock market is a reflection of rational thought, well, it's really not. All you have to do, folks, is go look at the Growth Fund of America, largest actively managed fund. Its number 5 or 6 holding is cash. Why? Because it has redemptions. Look instead at BlackRock, $206 billion of assets gathered in the quarter. They have tens of billions of dollars to deploy. Most of it goes to large caps. Who prices the large caps? Citadel, Susquehanna, and Jane Street. I'm picking on the 3. But the one makes markets in equities, the other 2 in ETFs and options. And so long as the spreads are narrow, that works. When they narrow too much, the economics break down and somebody quits. And then we have volatility and the whole market goes topsy-turvy. And it takes 2 quarters. That's how long it takes.
To sweep
I
up
don't know,
the,
but it does.
sweep up the residue. All right, so Tim, you were coming after the media a little bit early. I'm gonna come after you in a very nice way, of course. You always like to say you don't like saying the longest stretch for stock since whatever, but then you also just recently wrote that this is the longest period of a certain measure of market sentiment that you follow since 2018. So when I hear it's the longest stretch in 7 years, you've got my interest. What are you talking about? What does it tell you?
Right, I hate the word since, right? You're like, it's the longest time since. Well, so who cares? Well, so what I shared with you is what we could call the volatility of volatility in SPY. And what happened on October 10th is really the 6th largest in the modern data set's history. And if you look at the way that the market behaves, the narrowness of spreads, this is a very long, we had one of the longest stretches where the market was neither hot nor cold. It didn't hit what we call a 6 in demand, nor did it get to a 4 where we hit a market entry. And it's been that way for the longest time since 2018. Now, maybe it means nothing. Of course, 2018 was a bear market year. I don't know what's going to happen, but it's certainly, when it happens at options expirations, which is occurring right now, it gets my attention because all of those things have to be reset. And when there is high volatility and a long period where we haven't had a reset, there is a higher probability that we have trouble. And really, Monday could be important. New options.
Why Monday?
Because the whole new series for options that tracks the market will reset. And the options market is larger than the underlying equity market. 0 days to expiration options alone are $1.2 trillion notional value daily. The whole stock market is about $800 or $900 billion daily. So these things matter. And when you have double the volatility all of a sudden in a week, and all those instruments have to be reset, do not be fooled by what happens right now today. Could be the opposite or worse Monday. Wednesday are VIX expirations. I will not breathe till about Thursday or Friday.
Well,
This is the quickest way to clear out stuck poop.
The #1 food for regular BM, huh? Okay, let's see.
Fastest way to.
I'll tell you, these commercials that just randomly pop up on YouTube. Hey. Amazing. All right. Please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com, and get the C60. C60 is a very potent antioxidant. You can't get anything better than this. It's 1,000 times stronger than vitamin C. One molecule of C60 is much stronger than one molecule of vitamin C. Take a teaspoon a day, every day, preferably on an empty stomach. You can get it in MCT coconut oil, extra virgin olive oil, and also in avocado oil. You can get it in a 2 ounce, a 4 ounce, or an 8 ounce configuration. Take a teaspoon a day, every day. I've been taking this since 2016 every day, taking a teaspoon a day. Now, what it's going to do is it's going to soak up free radicals at the cellular level, at the extracellular matrix level, and even at the cerebral and vascular level. And when you're soaking up free radicals at the vascular level, you're reducing the concentration of oxidized LDL. And when you do that, you're reducing plaque formation. At the cerebral level, you're bringing down inflammation. You're soaking up those free radicals. You're improving the mitochondrial health. You'll have more ATP. You'll have more neurotransmitters being created. The myelin sheath of the neuron will be healthier and your neurons will perform better. And over time, you'll have better neuroplasticity. So you're thinking faster and have better memory. In other tissues, what will happen is the C60 is going to soak up those free radicals, reduce the stress in the cell, and your mitochondria will improve and the cells will improve. So the tissues and the organ systems will improve. That means that your immune system and your endocrine system will improve. Super important to take every day. So please go to my store and get the C60. C60 will also improve the basal layer of your skin. So over time, you're going to actually improve your skin. This stacks well with NAD+, ubiquinol, clarity factor, resveratrol. And by maintaining that basal layer and improving your skin, you're going to notice within 1 year that you will look younger. Now you're going to you'll start feeling the effects of this within about 2 months. Your body is improving, your endocrine system is improving, your immune system is improving, your brain function is improving, but you will visibly see a difference within 1 year. So please take this every day. This is a cornerstone to slowing down the aging process, but it's also helping you to boost up your immune system. In addition, you should make sure that you stock up on C60 for the fall and the winter season to soak up those free radicals just in case you contract something. So please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com. Be prepared, get the C60, especially for the fall and the winter. That's the end of my broadcast. Please help support the work that I do. Get the great products that I offer and get healthy. If you follow my advice, you will slow down the aging process and you will improve your immune system and endocrine system. Thank you for listening and have a nice day.